Hi everyone, this is Heather. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I've got a card tutorial for you. With the release of the live-action Aladdin movie, I thought it would be fun to make a card inspired by Aladdin. So I've got this fun genie on a carpet flying over, and I've made it a slider card so that he can slide back and forth over the city. So I'm using this really fun stamp set from Pink and Main. This is called Genie Boy. There's also a Genie Girl set. To get the genie on the carpet, coming out of the lamp, a monkey, the palace, some really great sentiments. It's a really fun set. So I'm using a blue cardstock base, just an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock, cut, scored, and folded in half. Then I also have a sheet of pattern paper that's been cut to 4 by 5 1/4. This was just something that I had in my stash. It's purple with some really pretty glittery stars all over it. It's got clouds on the back. I think this is from Stampin' Up. It may not be available any longer. I'm sorry if that's the case, but you've probably got some really great sparkly cardstock in your stash. And then just another couple of pieces of the same papers in about 4 by 2. On 110-pound white cardstock using black memento ink, I've gone ahead and stamped out my genie and the little Agrabah city. And I'm going to be doing some coloring with some alcohol-based markers. These are Stampin' Blends from Stampin' Up. And I'm starting off with light Seaside Spray. I wanted my genie to be blue, just like the genies in both the Aladdin movies. So I'm just going to color his skin all over in the light blue. I'm going to add a little shading and shadowing to his face with the darker Seaside Spray. I'm going to go back in with the lighter and just kind of blend those together. This is really the only shading and shadowing that I'm going to do on the card today because so many of the little spaces to color in are so small. Using Dark Daffodil Delight marker, I'm going to color in his turban, his vest, his shoes, and the border around the carpet and the tassels. With the same yellow marker, I'm also going to be coloring in the tops of each of the towers on the palace and also inside the windows and doors. Using light rich razzleberry, I'm going to color in his shirt, the body of the flying carpet. I'm going to try and avoid that little detail on there. Also the feather on his turban and the trim on the palace going around the border of the windows and doors. For his pants, I'm using light Night of Navy and also the gem on top of his turban. For the rest of the palace, I'm using ivory. And to finish off, I'm just taking a Le Pen pen just because it has a really fine tip to it to get in and give him that nice little black beard. With my marker coloring done, I hope that you can see on the sample, I've got this really great shimmer and shine on all of the places that I've colored in yellow. So I'm using a clear Starburst Jelly Roll pen. These come in a lot of different colors. I had a gold one, but it actually dried out. So I really like the clear though, because you can put it over top of any color and it will just shine through. So everywhere that I've got yellow marker, I'm just going to go over with this Jelly Roll pen. You could also use like a clear Wink of Stella or any kind of, glitter pen or marker that you've got. It just adds such a really nice shimmery touch and turns all the yellow into a pretty gold. So I've added that nice shimmer to all of my yellow pieces, and now I'm just going to cut out my images and just leave a little bit of a white border. I'm going to be using my scissors. There is a die set that goes along with the stamps, but I didn't purchase it, so I'm just going to go old school and just cut everything out. With my images cut out, I'm adding a lot of tape runner to the back of my palace just because I don't want my little slider guy to catch on it. And I'm just putting that in the center, lining it up with the bottom of my pattern paper. I've also taken my black memento ink again, and on my blue cardstock, I've stamped out the "Your wish is my command." Using some repositionable tape, I have this thin stitched rectangle die. This is from Stampin' Up, and it happened to just perfectly fit my sentiment. So I'm going to use my repositionable tape and tape that in place. And now with my palace down, I can see where I would like my slider part to go. And you just want to make sure that when he slides across, he doesn't go too far up over the top edge of your paper. So I have it pretty close to the palace. Again, I'm just going to tape this in place with some repositionable tape, and I'm going to run these both through my die cut machine. And I don't think that I mentioned yet that my slider mechanism is from Lawn Fawn. But you could use, you know, any that you have. You could use like a straight or a semicircle, but I just thought this little wave was just perfect for the flying carpet. With some tape runner, I'm going to adhere my words to the upper right hand corner of my piece of pattern paper. Again, just making sure that it's taped down really well so that the sliding mechanism won't interfere. To make my slider, I'm using 2 different widths of foam squares. For the Genie on the carpet, I've got one that's not as thick as the one that I'm going to be using to tape down my pattern paper. Just that way it's got plenty of room to move along and it won't get held up. On the back of my Genie, kind of towards the center, you don't want it up too high or too low because it can kind of get like top or bottom heavy. I've put a piece of that thinner foam tape. I've turned my pattern paper over, and I'm going to put that foam tape in between that open slot, and I'm just taking a penny. You could also use a washer, any kind of a round disc, and I'm just going to press those together so that that will hold nice and tightly. And on this one, you can kind of see the penny a little bit, but that didn't bother me too much. Because like I said, I did try to put the foam tape down lower and he kept tipping over. So this just worked a lot better. So that I don't have the blue showing through my slider piece, I've just taken that extra rectangle of my pattern paper. I'm just placing it on my cardstock base. Just want to make sure that it just kind of carries the pattern along. So I've just put that on my card front. And now I am ready to put tons and tons of foam squares on the back here. If you would prefer to use foam tape, you could, if it's not very thick, you could layer it up. It just takes a lot because you want it to be really sturdy and give your mechanism enough room to move around. And I think the larger foam squares work just as well as layers and layers of tape. But you can do whatever you like, whatever you've got on hand. And you do want to make sure that you get some of those foam squares close to the mechanism so that it doesn't, the weight of it doesn't bow in. But you also want to make sure that it's not touching your penny. So I'm just going to continue to add a bunch more foam squares to the back of this pattern paper. I have peeled off all of the backing tape off of all those foam squares, and I'm going to center it on my card base. And here is our fun finished Aladdin themed card. I think he's really cute flying over the city and just a fun nod to the Aladdin movies. I hope you enjoyed this card tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Check out my channel and consider subscribing. I have lots of other card tutorials and videos for you, and I hope you have a magical day. This is Heather. Bye.